the clip. Tap or click to start watching the full episode now. Part 7, Death by Decadence. But art and media are just an illusion, things constructed by man. And as we continue to live in this culture that is more and more embracing the images of mass media, the more we're starting to identify with these fake or manufactured, imagined personalities that are not the reality of nothing of what we see of someone online is the full picture, because it is impossible to capture the full picture through art. You cannot stop nature or organize nature in a way that would ever truly project someone's fullness onto the screen. But we're so encaptured by these meaningless fragments of projection of love, of sex, of drama. It's causing issues in the real world because we're so wrapped up in the fantasy that reality is starting to get upset. Hardness of our personalities and the tension with which they are set off from nature have produced the West's vulnerability to decadence. Tension leads to fatigue and collapse. As I will show, decadence is a disease of the eye, a sexual intensification of artistic voyeurism. I think we have it. I think we have decadence, the disease of the eye. I'm no doctor, but if I were going to diagnose Western society right now, I would say that decadence, the disease of decadence, is definitely one of the main contenders of why we seem to be falling apart, and why such basic natural things that should be happening, men and women living in harmony as they have more or less throughout Western culture, these things are not happening because we are so confused and preoccupied with the fantasy of art. And thus it kind of seems like our society is starting to fall apart. Paglia published Sex and Violence, or Nature and Art, before the digital revolution transformed the way that we interact with media. Like I said, that was back in the day of Hollywood was Hollywood, separate. But now we've got big screen, flat screen TVs. We don't even go to the movie theaters anymore. And forget the TV. I've got a phone. I'm on social media. I don't need to envy a Hollywood actress because I am the main character in my own story that I'm projecting out into the world. When Camille Paglia wrote this essay, e-commerce was not a thing. No one was buying or selling anything online. And perhaps most significantly, this essay was written before Sex and the City aired on HBO in 1998. Modern media does not stop, and thus it kind of seems like art and sex have taken over. In other words, our society is too sexy. Sex is all we think about because it's all we see. From erotic music videos to concert crotch shots, from sex scenes in every movie to very revealing red carpet dresses, from TikTok to the club. In Western culture, sex is everywhere and everyone is pretty much naked. We have internalized turning ourselves into art and projecting ourselves on the screen. It is a little as if we're living in suspended imagination, where anything goes and natural consequences just don't exist. Today, our Western world is an illusion of art on steroids, and it is vacuum sucking us into the decadent realm of paganism. I mean, modern women, with the help of fashion and filters and their beauty routines, they are accentuating their womanly ways in ways that are directed only to intrigue the sex of it all, and thus turning them into a sex object which will inevitably be worshipped because it's what we do. And all of this is actually kind of ironic because women have worked feminism. They have worked so hard to free themselves of the label of being called a sex object. But as it turns out, Sex sells, and strong and independent women have no problem projecting their best assets as long as they're getting something in return. It's also ironic because women are using like the exact modes of art that men have created to escape from nature, aka women. They are now using it to like entrance man, not only in cinema, but in them as like a walking physical human being. And this is essentially like what is pissing off so many men in like the red pill movement. They're in their online communities calling makeup sorcery. And it makes sense. Since the beginning of Western culture, defying nature has been a man's game. And now that man has made it to third base, women are coming in and saying, oh, we're starting on third base. This is great. One of feminism's irritating reflexes is its fashionable disdain for patriarchal societies, to which nothing good is ever attributed. But it is patriarchal society that has freed me as a woman. It is capitalism that has given me the leisure to sit at this desk and write this book. Let us stop being small-minded about men and freely acknowledge what treasures their obsessiveness has poured into culture. But back to the sex of it all. Sex is everywhere. There's no moral code. Society has lost the reins to pop culture, and we are getting inundated with, no one is even allowed to say like what a woman is anymore. No one can define a woman. I'll tell you, Camille Paglia can define a woman, and if you want to know what a woman is, read this essay. If you want to know what a man is, read this essay. We are surrounded by and consumed by sex. Sex is everywhere, but somehow no one is having sex. No one's getting married. We're not having families. We've actually managed to become oversexed and undersexed at the same time. With the onset of internet culture, sex has exploded onto the scene, and now everything is murky. Our vision is blurred between reality and art. Our minds have disconnected from the physicality of our bodies. We've forgotten that sex is nature, and nature doesn't give a shit about our feelings. Paglia, through her poetic prose in which she articulates the nature of a man and that of a woman, brings us back to the reality of our bodies. Do you have anything to say better than food about the state of decadence that we're in?
And we're so confused now because we're getting so many mixed messages. Both genders. It almost seems like somebody's trying to turn us against each other when we used to just, kind of like naturally get along. I remember those days, or at least I feel like I remember those days. Who knows? Maybe I just got older and everything got more complicated. But I don't think so. I think with the rise of technology and all this crap, I think we've entered a new era wherein we're just competing in the wrong ways. You know what I mean? It's not a question of somebody having more power than the other or somebody having too much power or too little power. It's the wrong kinds of power over each other. Capitalism, I get it. But capitalism, as she points out too, like emancipated women. Capitalism made it possible for women to become untethered from the necessity of men, right? So she's pro-capitalist in that respect, as I am too. But there are obvious problems.
Now that I think about it, I'm not even sure like capitalism is the problem that we're trying to identify here. Perhaps there is like the greedy aspect of capitalism of always wanting to increase profits and build more and make more money. But I would say that in the situation of the West that we're in, it's monopolies and not capitalism that is like really like the big fish in this whole scheme. But monopoly is not the word I would use either. I think that consumerism is really the culprit that we're looking for. Supply and demand says that if we don't buy, they won't supply. But we buy things, all the pretty things that we need, all of the art, projections that we need to distract us from reality. We need the things. We need things to keep us safe, to keep us grounded in this world of chaos. And so we worship at the altar of consumerism. But all this stuff, it's just a distraction. Vape smoke and Insta filters keeping us hooked in this pagan trance of decadence. Meanwhile, society is falling apart. Did he just say that they were doing it on purpose?
If you enjoyed this clip, you're going to love the full episode. You may even like it more. Tap or click to watch now.